into equity investment, which is quite interesting that we have observed so far.
I guess that's maybe like a cultural thing within Vietnam with regards to how they think about savings and money. And that kind of you talked about this uptick recently in terms of the market activity, investment activity in equity assets. Does this mean anything with regards to like the bigger picture, the Vietnamese economy? How has Vietnam's economy been responding to the global economic uncertainties that have continued to this year? And how has FinHay been adapting to these stresses?
Yeah, so we actually so based on my observation in the market, Vietnamese government has been responding quite well with what happened all around the world. We actually reduced our interest a couple of times already, and we do see the effect in the market. So by end of last year, the interest from banks 1 year term was can go up to 12% a year. I mean, like we had a couple increase in our interest, and then quarter 1 this year, we start to see the central bank, State Bank of Vietnam, creating pressure and also requiring bank to reduce the interest, and they also reduce their what I call the interest, middle interest, and so on already. So asking the banks to also reduce interest. So the 1 year term interest in Vietnam is going down to around 8% a year, which is quite similar to the COVID period, and expect you even lower. So I would say the market itself and also the government or regulators been responding quite well with what happened all around the world and also what happened internally in Vietnam. Inflation rate actually is controlled, at least in the last quarter. I hope that in Q2 also under control. Oil price happened to be very well controlled. It used to be like $1.5 per liter in Vietnam, but now it's going down to less than $1. There was a time that it actually go down to 85 cents, which is quite low. But overall, the macro itself is doing quite well.
So you've talked about all these like macro trends and things are looking up for Vietnam. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about how specifically this has impacted FinHay's various product activity and user activity on your investment platform.
But with all those market macro updates and data that we observed in the last few months and also end of last year, we just see a certain sign that actually support the trading volume may go back sooner than we expected, especially on the fiscal policy on the government of Vietnam been pushing to spend on government spending, infrastructure investment, and improving infrastructure and so on. So that means that money will flow back to the market. At the same time, monetary policy, uh, inflation being reduced, uh, the saving rate is no longer attractive. So, yeah, given that real estate market is still in trouble, then the investment option is very limited. So where else they get money into? Stock market. And in the last few weeks, we have seen the volume been increasing quite drastically. Normally it was about like 500 million, 600 million in a day. Now it's jumping to 800 million in a day quite consistently. And also the sentiment itself being quite positive. And we found out that it's actually the very good opportunity for us to offer margin trading in the market for our semi-pro and pro traders within our platform. And within only a few days and beta to very few people, we had seen what I call almost the amount of margin required and the cash flow to them to leverage. And that created a new revenue stream for the company. And it's actually very good product we have seen so far in the last few weeks. Yeah.
And do you see you talked about a lot this rebound of the stock markets. Do you see the factors driving this to be more long term or do you see it as more short term? What's your sense of that?
My sense is this is more short term,
Mhm.
increasing from a 600 million trading volume in a day to 800 million. Can we keep that 800 million in the next few months? That's a question that we need to answer platform perspective, from the market itself. But if it's not keeping at 800 million and then going down to, let's say, 750, 700 million, still better than normally 500 million, right? Which create a new benchmark for the market.
Mm.
So we do see this as a potential. a short term jump in trading volume, but then we create a new benchmark. So I would say it's short term. However, there's a lot of long term uncertainty all around the world,
Right.
including Vietnam. So I do see the long term is yet clear. But
Mhm.
if as a result of short term, yes.
And I think you also tackled this the similar question in our last podcast, and you did talk about how because you don't just have the stock trading product, you also have fixed income and you have these diverse like
Yep.
asset classes where users can invest, then they can always shift around depending on where the market is and where the opportunity is.